Soccer has a rising talent. We are ready to fight.
They're classy too, man. I can wear this on a date.
People who are most successful are the ones who don't just give up.
Hey, how good are these to-go boxes?
Our to-go boxes, they're not good. They're f***ing amazing. How did we get started here at Albemarle Paper? Well, late 2008, my cousin John and I started this paper company, and we got all sorts of different products.
Hey, Nick, come on, man. Let's get to work.
You got cleaning products, too? You got a party this weekend? We got your back. Anything you need here at APS. Plates, napkins, silverware, table covers. We got everything covered, right, boys? What other items do we carry? Paper towels? I got it. Toilet paper? I got it. Gloves? We got you. Pizza boxes? You're probably wondering, where are we? Where's Albemarle Paper? Don't you worry about that. We got you. I'll bring the products to your front door. See you guys.
Hello, and welcome to an all-new episode of the MLS Corner, the best corner in all of MLS. Yes, we are here on a Tuesday night, and yes, after a Charlotte FC victory. It's been a long time, a very, very long time since we've done a show after a Charlotte win, right? You can say technically we won on penalties last game against Dallas, but to me that was still a draw. But this time we are back after a win, a very convincing win, I might say, right? But we'll get into that. Lima, man, how are you tonight?
I'm good. I was going to say what the OFL podcast said, but man, yeah, stole my thunder. So, yeah, I'm all right, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Nice. And we've got Mr. Brian Maurer. Bam, Maurer Media. How are you today?
Doing well, man. It's good. It's good, like you said. It's good to just be able to talk about a win. Might have a couple crutches on that win, but it's a win's a win at this point.
A win is a win. A win is a win. And a win is a win. We have Mr. Toño Ramos from Charlotte FC Spanish Radio on tonight. A huge Charlotte FC fan and also a huge Cruz Azul fan. Toño, how are you tonight?
I'm good, Jorge. Good to see you guys. And yeah, excited about this round of 32 against Cruz Azul. A little bit disappointed, of course, that we're not playing here at Bank of America Stadium. A little heads up, Frisco is going to be full of Cruz Azul fans because Cruz Azul fans travel very good, and they're one of the biggest clubs in Mexico, and in Texas, well, is going to be a bunch of Cruz Azul fans. But if we play like we play against Necaxa, I think we have a chance. But Cruz Azul is not Necaxa, so it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenge, and we don't have a guy like Messi that could just take a free kick and win it at the last minute, unfortunately.
We got Westwood.
Toño, if I would have told you a couple of years ago that you would be in Charlotte and you would be calling a Charlotte FC versus Cruz Azul game, would you have believed me?
No, never. This is wild. And I moved here to Charlotte 3 years ago to call Panthers games. Soccer feels different for me. I played soccer my entire life. I played for a Cruz Azul Academy, by the way, when I was younger. So it's a very special game. So for those, a lot of Mexican fans here in the Carolinas. So I'm very excited. And as I said, it's gonna be a challenge. Cruz Azul, they're a big club in Mexico. They're facing a lot of pressure this year, like every other big club in Mexico. Expectations are always super high. And, Liga MX just started, but it's not like they're putting excuses or they're not trying to perform well against MLS teams in this Leagues Cup tournament. So Tuca Ferretti has a big challenge ahead because they won one of the CONCACAF Champions League spots that the Leagues Cup gives you. So it's very important for Cruz Azul too.
For sure. We'll get into it a little bit here later on the show. But first, I want to start off with some news that we heard today. Andre Shinyashiki is officially out at Charlotte FC. He goes to a club in Azerbaijan. Did I say that right? Azerbaijan Premier League, right? Obviously, ever since the news that he was linked to a sexual assault case came in. Him and Nuno weren't part of the team anymore, and you know what? They've both been taken off the roster. I think these two moves were very, very important on this window. One, with Nuno, you free up an international slot, right? And now with Andre, him and Nuno occupied over $1 million in cap space, right? Which, I mean, if you take a look at how MLS salary works, right, in that cap, that's like 20% of the whole squad between two players. Like I think Brian mentioned it, you know, Messi against the cap was less than both of these guys combined. So, you know, Lee, your initial thoughts of this?
Yeah, I mean, we all knew it was coming. It's just a matter of when. So, but you know, it was good to get him off the books, if you will. So, you know, I mean, obviously, we don't really know the full extent of the story, right? So, with that being said, I wish him well. You know, do what he's got to do. He's not our problem anymore. It's a Charlotte FC. Let's focus on them.
For sure, for sure. Tonio, over $1 million in cap space free with these guys. Obviously, we don't know how much Brecht is going to be on, right? But he's a player that's coming in, right? That should make a difference in this squad, right? And you know, I mean, I think the number one thing was to get these guys off the books, right? So that was important, right? Because having two players that we can't depend on hitting us in the cap, Zoran mentioned it in his article with Carol, was hurting us.
It was a healthy decision, as you know. Lee tweeted today, "Chapter closed." That's it for me too. So, you know, maybe you can invest that space on bringing a left back. I would personally like to have a left back, more depth in there. But yeah, we have to see how Brecht de Jagere's contract is structured. So we have to wait until Soren makes, you know, more moves, because the window is about to close.
Yeah, the window closes August 2nd.
Tomorrow.
Which is tomorrow, right? So I think we'll definitely see at least one. I would say one more signing. If I'm a betting man, right? I'm betting on two, right? So anything else that you want to add, Brian, about this move? I mean, obviously, like, it was expected. We just didn't know when.
Yeah, I'm just glad they were able to get it done before the window closed, because that still gives them that 24 hours now to make that last. Because I'm assuming these moves had to happen. I mean, obviously, Nuno's had a couple weeks ago or a week ago. But, I mean, the Shinishiki move, I imagine, had to have happened for them to be able to make any last-minute signings. I'd imagine that played a role. So it's just good that they were able to get him off the books now, and then you have a chance to maybe make that last move or two. Because, I mean, this is when they made all three of their moves and then at least announced them last year. It was on the last day of the window, all three of them. So I'd imagine that's what this is shifting for. I'd expect, yeah, like you said, at least one more signing sometime tomorrow, just because, I mean, this is kind of seems to be Charlotte's MO, like wait until kind of the last minute a little bit and get those.
Yeah, and I think we saw that last year too, where I think it was a summer window. We had like 3 signings back to back. I can't remember who it all was, but I know Nuno was in that mix.
Nuno, Byrne, and Melando were all like on the last day of the window.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we'll probably, if I'm a betting man, I don't think Charlotte's done, especially like all the crazy stuff that's going on in MLS right now, all the moves that we saw today. So, a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, Fagundes going over to LA Galaxy for me stuck out, right?
Yeah. And Chucky Lozano probably to LAFC, and
that will be huge.
Diego Rossi too, I think.
Diego Rossi back to MLS with Cruz. So
Zilarian out, you know, so a lot of stuff happening, you know, in the league. I mean, as you see, Miami's getting stronger, right? They're a force to be reckoned with. I feel like will be now, right? And so a lot of things happening, but let's get into Charlotte FC. We finally were able to have a home game, and we saw Charlotte with a very, very convincing win against Necaxa, right? I want to start off first with that starting 11 that we saw against Necaxa. We saw Privet make his debut here in Charlotte, right, next to Melanda, who was back, which was great news for us. Byrne at left back, Lindsay at right back, a midfield of Westwood, Bronico, Arfield. Up top, we had Merrim, Swiderski, and Yazdoviak. And I got to say, this has had to be one of Brandt's best games. So, Tonio, talk to us a little bit about this game and just your observations.
Yeah, some of those days that everything goes your way, right? And you have a balanced midfield with Bronico and Arfield and Westy, but I really like these surprising runs to the box, loading the box with Bronico and Arfield doing that. So Necaxa's fullbacks pinch in, and they have numerical superiority inside the box, and we saw what Arfield did, scoring for the first time. Bronico's absolutely probably his best game too. So Malanda being back it was huge for me, and I don't think we have talked a lot about Nathan Byrne, and Nathan is pretty solid as a left back, so everything started to click. But let's be honest, Necaxa was a little bit of the disappointment, but we expected this type of game from them because they're not in a good shape, but it's not on us, it's not our fault to score 4 goals and beat them the way that we did. So overall it was the type of game that you controlled 90 minutes, and of course this hasn't happened a lot of this season, but it was encouraging to see the guys performing this way.
For sure. I mean, like you said, like Necaxa really wasn't a huge opponent, but Lee, there was 2 goals that were called that really, I would say, could have changed the trajectory of this game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game. I mean, I was bitching before the game that I wanted Bender to start over Bronico, and then Bronico came out and shut me up. So, kudos to Bronico. That's probably one of the best, if not the best games I've seen him wear in a Charlotte top, right? And then like everybody's been saying, the other boys just played through. Arfield got his first official goal with Charlotte, and Carroll did what Carroll does, and here we are, man. We finished top of the group. We're starting to make some sort of progress, but like you said, the competition wasn't as strong probably as what it's going to be Thursday. But I mean, it is what it is, and you can only play what's in front of you, right?
For sure, you can only play what's in front of you. But also, I think one of the things that really stuck out to me that's a positive, right, was the energy that the team brought out, right? I mean, that was lacking a lot until we got that penalty in Dallas. The team, in my opinion, looked lifeless. And this one, it was a totally different Charlotte I was feeling. Swiderski, right? Anytime we see the best version of Swiderski, we see the best version of Charlotte FC, right? And so it was great having other because I mean, like, think about the pass he gave to Brandt Bronico. There's very few players in this squad, if any, that can make that type of pass that he gave Brandt, right? So, Brian, talk to me about some of the players that stood out to you, and I want to hear from everybody in the comments section as well.
Yeah, I mean, I really felt like the whole midfield 3 played really, really strong. I think this is the first time we really saw Charlotte FC control close to an entire match this whole season, which is kind of what their aim was this whole year, was to do that. And so it was good to finally kind of see maybe what Latanzio had been like pushing for this whole season. So we kind of saw that. Again, Necaxa is definitely a weaker side, and they had a variety of different reasons as to why they also were weak in terms of just the amount of travel they've had to do, the red card picked up on Wednesday, midweek games and stuff like that. But you still have to just take care of business. Those 3, I think, stood out to me. The one, I think seeing Malanda back, like Tonio said, I mean, just some of those passes he was making, the switches and stuff like that, I think really helped provide some quick change of direction moving forward. I mean, we could talk about Swiderski's performance all day. I mean, that was one of my favorite Swiderski performances too. I mean, and then maybe even a shout out to Ajime. I mean, just coming in off the bench and getting it. Well, he just can't stop scoring wherever he's playing right now. And he also has just, I mean, it seems like he's really flying high and starting to find some confidence, which is good for a young player like that. And then Uzviak too, I think, is another name that sticks out just in terms of, because I feel like he's had such a roller coaster of a time in Charlotte. So like, and the way he started this year seemed like he was really turning a corner, and then he got hurt. So, and then his like return from that injury seemed to be like he sort of lost that productive form that he had found. but getting the assist to Carroll, I think, was the other big thing that stood out to me, was him maybe coming back into that end production again.
And this was the most convincing win at home, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, maybe the Columbus Crew game was a big one because the opponent we were facing, but performance-wise, this was to me the most encouraging. And I'm not saying that I'm a little bit concerned about Justin Merriam, but I think he is, dealing with something recently, and he's not clicking, missing some balls. But we know what he's capable of doing. But I don't know. Maybe if you could move your pieces or start Kerwin, I think the Cruz Azul game is a perfect game for Kerwin, because Cruz Azul left backs and fullbacks, overall they're kind of struggling right now. But we're all very, and I think this was, for the locker room, for the guys, for the group itself, winning finally after, May 17 was the last home game,
something like
win.
that.
So it means a lot.
For sure. I mean, this was the first game we didn't have the throne at the bank, and we won 4-1.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Kalina too. I always bust his ass and everything, but he had a solid game as well, man.
Yeah.
So
And then I wanted your thoughts, I guess, Tonio, on Arfield, right? I mean, he scored against Dallas as well. That goal didn't count, but again, I remember asking him, and I posted this. One of the things I was like, "What do you want to contribute to this team immediately?" And he said goals, right? And fair play to him. The last 2 games, even though one of them didn't count, he scored, right? So, I mean, the one thing that he's bringing, I think, is that experience. And two, if he can add goals to this team, right? I mean, that gives me more confidence in the squad, in this midfield that we're building.
I see a great partnership for Ashley Westwood, and just having more possession, a guy with his quality, delivering passes, the vision that he has, these southern runs that he makes to the box. I think that's huge for your attack, and just having more volume up front. He might not be the flashy guy, the most spectacular player, but he does the little things right. And that to me is the type of box-to-box guy that you needed to pair Ashley with. For
sure. I mean, this is a great point too. Can we move Swiderski back to the 10 when Copetti comes back? I don't think so. Right? I think it's very, very, very difficult, right, to change up right now Swiderski from that 9 role to the 10, right? One, because we're adding in more experience in the midfield. I mean, we still haven't even seen what De Jagere can do in this squad, right? And I mean, in my opinion, Swiderski is being more effective in that 9 role. So Latanzio is really going to have a very interesting time figuring out how to fit these guys, right? Because I mean, it'll be hard to keep one deep. You're paying. These are your 2 best players, 2 out of the 3 best players in the squad. And I don't think once Copetti is healthy, you can afford to just keep him out of the squad.
I mean, you build this roster to play those guys at the same time. So
for sure. Right? Anything you want to add to that, Brian?
If it's not broken, then don't fix it. I understand your point, but I think they're going to find a way to keep those 2 guys in the pitch, because your DPs, and you plan your season with those 2 strikers up front. So,
yeah. I think the only other thing is just, I mean, this is kind of what happens when you have a coaching change in the middle of last season, right? You had Swiderski come in with Mar, and then Copetti come in with Latanzio, but you still have to, I mean, you have to make it work, because Carroll's hot and Copetti is Latanzio's guy. So like they have to find a way to play them.
Copetti's going to be on the bench, man. He's there's no way we could put him in where Swiderski is when Swiderski's banging in the goals. I mean, I'm sorry, right? I mean, this is the time, and it is what it is. We're finally starting to win. We're starting to show some promise, right? I mean, like we mentioned, Westwood and Arfield are starting to link up pretty good, and you cannot adjust that, man. If Latanzio does that, then this man has got no idea, right? At least until there's a shit game by Copetti or something.
Yeah. Well, hold on. I mean, it started to win. They've won 1 and like.
Yeah, but I mean, I personally think we look better without Copetti.
I mean, I would agree. I mean, Swiderski has been definitely the best player on the team, at least production wise this year for sure.
For sure. And I mean, with what we're seeing too, right? Like, I mean, long term, in my opinion, one of them has to go. We touched on this last pod, so it would just be going back. But I do want to touch on the fact that we get a high just to be hit by another low, right? And Charlotte came out.
Was gonna Charlotte.
We thought Charlotte wasn't gonna Charlotte Lee, and Charlotte definitely Charlotte.
I mean, it doesn't matter, man. It does not matter, man.
For sure. As they mentioned, right, you know, Charlotte will not be able to host the next round, and they won't be able to host the round after that as well, right? Due to a couple of things. Toño and his Panthers, so I'm gonna blame him, and the Beyonce concert, right? And so, I mean, it's very, very frustrating. Listen, I get it that you can't, but in my opinion, I still feel frustrated and I still feel embarrassed as a fan of Charlotte FC when, like, we're getting mocked now by every other MLS fan base, which, to be fair, I would too, that you can't host your own match.
Baseball stadium, so.
Huh?
New York City FC plays sometimes a baseball stadium, so it's
exactly. And I would be embarrassed if we played in a baseball stadium too. But the reality and the fact,
I'm not making excuses, by the way, but I'm disappointed that we're not playing at home because we deserve it.
I seriously think they could have moved. If it's the Panther Fest, I feel like they could have said, "Hey, you know what? We're not going to do it on Thursday. We're going to do it on Friday or something." Probably had more people come out to the Panther Fest since it's a Friday night versus a Thursday night.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Joe LeBou came on.
FanFest is tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, it is tomorrow? FanFest is tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Logistics and moving trucks and whatever is hard.
For sure. And then I think Joe LeBou went on WFNZ and kind of gave everybody the explanation as to why we can't play. And like I said, I get it, but you know what? At the same time, like, it's very, very frustrating. Lee, your thoughts after finding out the news?
I mean, I was just as disappointed as everybody else, you know, and then it was like, well, because if Atlanta won, we would have had to go down to Atlanta. Maybe the team would have done like they did for the away game that we played during the regular MLS season, right, where they would just bust a few of us down there or whatnot. I thought that was pretty cool of them. I mean, that would have been the way to me for them not to get a black eye. But, I mean, you know, as a fan, of course, I want to see the team play here at home. It's the Leagues Cup. It's one of the bigger teams in Mexico. It would have been an awesome atmosphere, sure. However, I mean, I don't know how logistics works at the stadium, but it sounds to me like this Beyonce thing was scheduled almost COVID times, right? So, and the league obviously didn't put out any of the dates or any of that until recently. So, I mean, yes, there's frustration. Can you throw it at the club? I don't think this is on the club this time, honestly. I mean, yeah, they're holding Beyonce. Then the question becomes, do we get a soccer-specific stadium? But still, would it be even built by now if we had built, you know, when we got the team and all that kind of stuff, again, due to COVID and everything else. So, you know, all I can say is let's just keep winning. And then let's bring these boys back. What's it, like quarters, semifinals? I think will be the first time we'll be able to host an actual game, depending on how the bracket breaks down and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. And for the people saying that Beyonce was scheduled May of 2022, listen, I get it.
But you can't schedule being in a knockout stage for logistic wise.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. There will always be issues, right? And I don't think. Like, there's always going to be issues when it comes to you have an NFL team, you have a MLS team, and you have concerts and other stuff that happens at the stadium. So this is going to be a constant issue. Something is always going to come up that's going to frustrate the fans, right? And as much as Charlotte wants to say, hey, you know, we tried our best, the reality is that, like,
the one thing
my problem sometimes is that they overpromise and underdeliver. Right.
Yeah, of
so,
course.
I mean, look, last year people were complaining about the football lines during the MLS season, and fair enough, right? Like, people get angry, and fair enough, the weather, X, Y, Z. right? I get it, right?
Yeah, we
but
went
at the end of
undefeated.
the day, we're still playing there, right? Again, this year, now we can't schedule, matches at home. Right now, we give Cruz Azul the advantage when we could have had a proper run at this tournament.
Yeah, so I agree with all those points. I'm gonna Beyonce thing aside. I think the way I feel with Charlotte FC and the Panthers is we sort of become second-class citizens to the Panthers. Like it's
Well, I
to
feel
me.
like I always knew that though. Like I always knew that we
Did
were.
you
always
know it, or did you? Like I can
I
kind of
always
feel
felt it,
now.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's $1 billion. The NFL does billions, right? MLS is up and coming, and you know what? I get it. I don't like it, but like the problem is that sometimes like I don't like that like people online want to make it seem like Charlotte's like they had nothing to do with it. Yes, you did. You chose this, right? So don't pretend.
Because what?
that-
What are you talking about the Beyonce thing, or are you talking about the Panthers?
I'm talking about everything that involves Charlotte, right? That like the expectations are set high, but sometimes like you're not going to be able to meet these expectations. I'm sorry, so many people are texting me right now, and I don't know.
That's because Joe LeBlue tweeted.
Yeah,
Breaking
flag,
some
man.
for news.
Yeah. Okay. What were you gonna say, Lee? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just
I don't
saying. I was just saying Joe LeBlue. He tweeted Minty with Finland flag in his eyes, so obviously he's hinting at.
Listen, what did we say at the beginning of the show? I guaranteed one more player was coming in. You're welcome. You're welcome. If it wasn't for me, they heard us on this live, and they're like,
Mug's head. Look at it, man. It's gonna smell. We can't even see you anymore, man. That Mug's head swelled out the box.
Let's get one more player in.
Yeah, man. His head done swelled out the box. No, but I think it's I think the Panthers though, or Tepper Sports or whatever, they should give us, meaning Charlotte, like at least those last couple of months, right? We're at the end of our season almost, depending if we go to the players or not. I'm sure they could work it out with the NFL where like, they play away for, I'm just saying that we could easily do opposite schedules for about 4 or 5 weeks, I feel. Like we know the MLS. I don't know when the schedule's released for NFL, and I feel like it's released after they know what our season's going to look like, right? So why can't they just have like 3 or 4 away games?
I just feel like the NFL is just never gonna respect it. Like I think they're just at their own level in terms of just not even contemplating what MLS schedule is. And I think
but I'm sure Tepper's got enough clout where he could say, "Hey, look, man, just give us like 3 or 4 weeks, or even not to say even that, just play us, when we're away, have that as a home game for the Panthers."
I don't know if Tepper has that much. I mean, what has he done? What has he done to earn clout in the NFL?
I mean, what has he done clout in the MLS, right?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Anyway, but I mean, he's been around the NFL long enough, right? He came from Pittsburgh before he came to Charlotte, so I'm sure he's got enough backroom buddies that he plays golf with that he could talk to.
Yeah,
assuming he plays golf.
Yeah, I guess my one other thing to add, just in terms of like last year when they announced the facilities and they like the quotes that kind of come out from Tepper and from Zoran, like that's what they said last year was like, we're pushing to be a leader in growing North American soccer. And so when they make these kind of statements, I have an issue with that.
It raises the expectations for sure.
You're then saying, because that's what they said when the facility came out, like we're going to be the lead, like a leader, if not the leader in North American soccer. This is not that. This is not even close to that. We're like in the bottom tier in terms of like what the expectations are in the modern MLS, right? There's probably 20 teams with soccer specific stadiums that are only focused on soccer exclusively. They ain't dealing with concerts. They ain't dealing with NFL. At least 20, probably more. There's like 4 or 5 left. There's NYCFC in a baseball stadium. Then there's Seattle, Atlanta, New England. Like that might be it. I think that's it at this point. Like everybody else is soccer specific. And so like they're just not even close to being a league leader in North American soccer in terms of like, I mean, maybe the facilities are up to snuff. Those are going to be opening this month. And obviously having that side of things, they've definitely invested heavily in the development side of things. I spent a lot of time talking to people, both Scales and Jose, and that side of things seems to be really like zoned in, but like the final product also has to be there if you're going to be a leader in North American soccer. And that means the first team and your facility where you actually are playing games. And I don't know, like if you're going to be the third fiddle, like the leaders of North American soccer are not going to be a third fiddle. Like
I mean, when we interviewed Nick Kelly back in the day, when we first found out about the PSLs, that's what he says. We're changing, like you just mentioned, we're changing the soccer scene here in America, North America.
Yeah.
And
like profit margins or
I mean, and here we are.
It goes back to this, like the expectations, like Charlotte do a terrible job of selling expectations and then not coming up to those expectations. And then I feel like people take it like I'm like, you said this, we never said this. You said you would make playoffs, right? You said that. We didn't say that. So now our expectation increases. I think pricing as well subconsciously lets us know, okay, if we're going to pay more money for this, we should expect a better product, right? And what are we seeing? We're seeing a team 12th. We're seeing people talk about turf. We're seeing people talk about the coach. We're seeing people talk about the style of play. We're seeing people talk about not being able to play at our own stadium. Like, I mean, it's so many issues, right? And there's very little positives that we can take and say, okay, we're building off of something, right? And so that's just that's my opinion, right?
Dude, I got 4 hot dogs, 2 beers, and 2 waters. $115.
Are you serious?
Holy shit.
Yep. That's what I said when I was like, how much? Jesus Christ. And anyways, I know that's off the path of what we're discussing, but you know, it goes back into the pockets and the money that's being spent at the stadium by us Charlotte FC fans. So, you know, all we ask is that we get brought up to par as the Panthers.
And I mean, it's still year 2, and you know, we all have expectations, high expectations, and the club, you know, the franchises, both Panthers and Charlotte FC have faced, you know, challenges through these last 2 years, you know, the Rock Hill stuff. So it hasn't been easy. I can tell you that. So, but at the end of the day, it's, as I said, is year 2. We would expect, better results, another type of, you know, product on the field. But at the same time, we have to not say manage expectations, but be conscious and be patient. That is still year 2, but
it's tough.
We could have been doing, you know, different on the football side. I'm saying just what has happening on the field, you know, coming through this year 2, as I said. Yeah.
But you say year 2, but then think about it, right? These PSLs, the fans are only locked in 3 years, right? And if the product doesn't change sooner than later, man, year 4 is where there's going to be that huge drop off where these people can get out of their contracts with buying these season tickets and everything else, right? And so it's just, I don't know, man. You know, like Jorge said earlier, I mean, the club keeps putting these expectations out, and you know, it's like the kid that's got a Christmas coming up, right? And he's already opened up all his gifts. He's like, he just can't wait. Like, just stop telling the shit, right? I mean,
exactly. It's like
right? All we want to see is wins, goals, and we want to know why these lineups are picked.
Exactly. It's like your dad or somebody like promising you something and then he doesn't deliver. Then
and then you open the box and just
and
stop,
then
bro.
after a while, you're like, I just don't believe you. You know?
Like, such nervous time. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Charlotte FC is an absentee father.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh my God, we're not going there. We're not going there. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's just, you know, I feel the team gets a little too excited and they tell a little bit too much, even though we want transparency. But like, you know, it's like, again, don't set our expectations high and then we come out like not even close to what we were promised, right?
For sure. Awesome. All right. Now that our little rant is over, right? Let's talk about the home game that we'll play away after playing away at home this week. Charlotte FC versus Cruz Azul. Like Tonio mentioned, one of the biggest names, biggest teams in Mexico, in Cruz Azul, a huge fan base, right? What can we expect from this Cruz Azul, Tonio? Talk to us a little bit about them, and tell us what Charlotte fans can expect.
Yeah, well, they are, starting Liga MX, and Tuca Ferretti is one of the most iconic coaches in Liga MX too, and that's why I said earlier that he and this Cruz Azul team has a lot of pressure to play good and develop as soon as possible. They are like a high possession team, very patient with the ball, ton of good midfielders. I think Charlie Rodriguez is one of the players to watch next Thursday. He organizes everything in the midfield, very skilled player, good vision. Up front, you guys know a player like Uriel Antuna with his speed, he's dangerous. Rotondi plays opposite side of Antuna as a left winger. He's a very powerful and energetic guy, but they don't have like this clinical striker right now. No one that can really trust to have that, killer instinct in the box. So they have just scored 3 goals in 5 games, counting Liga MX and Leagues Cup. So, it's going to be hard to win the position battle against a team like Cruz Azul. It's not easy to take the ball off of them. And as I said, Cruz Azul is not Necaxa. And I would say this is a very beatable version of Cruz Azul still, because they're trying to find their rhythm, lack of goals, but they can create chances. Just ask Inter Miami, because they missed a lot of chances.
They did.
So they're a dangerous, strong opposition, and as I said, they don't park the bus. They don't wait for you. They don't press high. It's just like a mid block. And Tuca Ferretti teams are like this. They're too conservative, but they know when to push you and make you some damage.
For sure. Lee, do you think, how much of an effect do you think playing in Dallas in an environment where it's going to be mostly Cruz Azul fans is going to affect this game?
Wow, it's hugely going to affect it for us. I mean, at least Dallas finally has some fans in their stadium, right? I mean, it can't be any worse than what we saw already, right? But no, I mean, again, it goes back to, it would have been nice to have it as a home game, get some energy behind the boys. Now we have to travel, right? We've done better this year on the road than we did last year, right? So, it just sucks all around. I don't know when we get to host the game, if we can, right? I think it goes all the way until the semifinals before the stadium is actually available, I believe, for us to host a game. So, I think it's definitely going to hinder us, I think.
Okay. Brian, I mean, what kind of Charlotte are you expecting? Right? Because one of the things that I see is with Charlotte, like Lee says, Charlotte's going to Charlotte. And to me, I expect the unexpected about this team, right? The fact that we finished first in the group, right, really gave me a positive feeling that, playing at home a couple of games, we could go far in this tournament. But the reality is now we have to play away. After this match, we play, I think, the winner of Houston, if we go through, right? Which is a big if, of Houston, and I can't remember who Houston's playing. But out of that bracket, we'd still be away.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been pleasantly surprised by how, and this is, I think, about as good a situation as Charlotte could be in, given where the season was going up until the Leagues Cup. And we talked about it before, heading into the Dallas game, like this was an opportunity for them to kind of press reset, give themselves a chance to build some momentum after just the struggles they had in MLS. And they've done that. They won the group, even though they were the biggest underdogs out of the 3 teams in the group. And it does seem like this tournament has really lit a fire in both games. Not only were they, especially against Necaxa, where they came out of the gate hot and played aggressive from the jump, they also have Westwood's gotten into like 2 fights in the last 2 games, right? They're also playing with some fight to them, willing to kind of get in each other's face. I haven't really seen that much competitiveness in terms of just really being fired up and seeing that sort of like fired up just personality from this club so far this year. And I really feel like over the last couple of games, it's ramped up a little bit. And so, I mean, I'd say that's a positive. So if they can continue to bring that kind of just energy and enthusiasm again, and then we'll kind of see. I do think there's a couple question marks in terms of what do they do with the roster? Do they run with Privet again? I've been pleasantly surprised with his 2 starts. But DJ is going to be closer to fully fit. He was at a 30-minute clock this last game, so obviously that's why he didn't get the start. But he's got to be, I'd imagine, getting pretty close to being able to go a full 90. So does he come back in, or do they stick with Privet? How does that work out? I think that's probably my big question mark, because this is also a way bigger challenge for a young player like Privet, who's a 3rd-round draft pick, to then have to line up against Cruz Azul's attack, like Antuna. Like, I mean, this is I'd say a big level up in terms of competition. So compared to Necaxa, so we'll kind of see. I'd imagine it's going to be the same midfield. Although I still, honestly, I would like to see Bender get the start. I feel like he's long overdue to have earned a start, but I can't imagine he's going to get it against Cruz Azul. But
he's not moving the midfield.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, I think he's
the same lineup.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty much the same lineup. I could totally see Miram getting switched out. Miram, I think, like Tonio was saying earlier, like definitely missed a few really good pass opportunities that could have led to goal scoring opportunities and then attacking third. So I could see Vargas coming in, but other than that, I think it's the same lineup.
Yeah, I agree. Tonio, who would you say? I mean, obviously, I've talked a lot about Swiderski, right, and how important he is to the Charlotte FC squad. Who else would you say is going to be important to step up this match against a team like Cruz Azul?
From what I've seen from Cruz Azul, and some of their defensive weaknesses, they're very vulnerable from the outside, and I think Josviak and Arfield could be key players next Thursday. As I said, these surprising runs that Arfield creates, both of the Cruz Azul midfielders, Charlie Rodriguez and Jesus Dueñas. Jesus Dueñas is a very experienced defensive midfielder. Sometimes he helps, the back 4, but he doesn't have the legs right now just to keep doing that as he did it with Tigres all his career. So, those 2 midfielders, I don't think they help their back line as much as they should have. So Arfield and Josviak, I think those 2 guys are one of my two of my players to watch against Cruz Azul. By the way, Cruz Azul has a weird rotation with the goalkeepers. Tuca Ferretti is always switching Jurado or Gudiño. They play one game Jurado, the other game Gudiño. So it's going to be interesting if he keeps Sebastián Jurado on goal, who I played against, by the way. So Jurado is a very young goalkeeper, and sometimes lack of experience is harming Cruz Azul. But they changed the center backs. They just debuted Willer Dita. Dita's debut was against Atlanta, so he's a Colombian center back. New pairing with Carlos Salcedo. So this new back 4 for Tuca Ferretti, I don't think he's comfortable right now. So that's what I think. There's some vulnerabilities that in that Cruz Azul back line.
It
Sounds
is.
like Latanzi has been talking to him.
I mean, there's been a lot of inconsistencies with Charlotte FC's defense. We all know that, and the injuries have been terrible. I think DJ should be ready, as we saw him 30 minutes, and Maland and DJ right now probably your best duo of center backs.
For sure. And I mean, like, I was going to mention, like you told me earlier, which I thought was a very interesting point too, right? Like, Tuca Ferretti teams are always so defensively, they play so well, right? So seeing this Cruz Azul right now is very, very interesting.
And even though Tuca Ferretti has had great teams with Tigres, with Guiñac and Celarayan, that was the a great combination for Tuca Ferretti, but he was always too conservative. So I don't expect Cruz Azul. I think, as I said, it's gonna hard for Charlotte FC just to take the ball off of those midfielders and the way Cruz Azul plays in their mid block, and the good wingers that they have. So possession battle is gonna be tough for us. That's why I think Bronico is playing with Arfield and Westy. I would love to see Ben Bender too, but against Cruz Azul, you gotta play those three guys in the midfield.
What do you guys make so far of our League Cup run, right? I think for me, it's been a positive thing seeing the team, right, go from, losing, right, to being undefeated in the
Take
league.
what we can get, man. We take what we can get.
Right? Undefeated in the Leagues Cup, undefeated against Liga MX's team, undefeated against Prem teams. Right. So Charlotte FC for you. Brian, what do you make of this Gold Cup? Of this cup, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a momentum builder. It's just an opportunity for them to just try to continue to get their feet back under them and try to carry whatever success they end up, wherever they end up in this tournament, just carry that back into the regular season to finish that out. Because I think that's really what it comes down to. Like if they got the dominant home win, which I think we've been looking for pretty much all season. Whereas, at this point they had close to 10 home wins last year, whereas they've only had 3 home wins this season. So getting that home win, I think, was a big momentum boost, and just continue to just carry whatever remaining successes come from this tournament, carrying that back into the rest of the season and trying to finish strong and trying to find a way back into the playoff hunt. Because before the Leagues Cup started, I feel like we were all pretty much like, the season's over. Like that's kind of where the feeling was, right? So, and it just shows, like, in a couple of games, even though they haven't changed their place in the standings because it's Leagues Cup, the feeling is more positive. And so can they just maintain that? I think that's really the big thing.
I definitely think all the Liga MX teams and Charlotte FC have a disadvantage in this game, right? Because all of them are playing away, right? So that's something that, I don't know, if they do this tournament again next year, right? Which I think the plans are to do it, right? I feel like a lot of these teams, and from what I've heard from a couple of people inside some of these Mexican teams, is they don't want to do it like this again. Like some of them want to host matches, right? Because first of all, it's a lot of traveling, and they never get a home game, so there's always a disadvantage, right? And so I want to pose this question to you, Lee, and to everybody in the comment section as well, right? How deep does Charlotte have to go in this tournament for you to be okay with them not making playoffs?
Well, like I said about the U.S. Open Cup, we should just focus on it and try to win it all, right? We should put our strongest teams out there and just
liar.
Rest for MLS.
Yeah. No, so yeah, I want us to go as far as we can, right? We got new players coming in, one that we know about, one that looks like is on his way, according to the tweets that have been going on, right, since we started the show. And so it'd be good. I guess the newer players, though, we can't add them in because we've already said the roster, right? But regardless, I want us to go all the way. We finished the top 3, is it? And we get into the CONCACAF or whatever it is next year, right? That's an opportunity for us. The traveling, I don't know. I wouldn't mind them just sort of to do it like the Champions League, how they do it in Europe, though, and just throw it in on like a Wednesday night game or something like that versus taking a whole month off. I think that's kind of, and then just do a 2-leg each way or something, right? And then have maybe, I don't know if they can get 4 teams in a group, and the top 2 go through.
Yeah, they gotta come up with a different scheduling.
Yeah, a different format or whatever. It could be a good thing. It's just a matter of how do they mature it out or change it up.
Mexican teams, I don't think they're comfortable doing this next year.
No, I don't blame them. I think it's totally unfair that they have to travel the whole way. And then, it's also their preseason technically, right? And
We'll
so
have 3 matches into the tournament, but yeah.
And we can say when CONCACAF Champions League starts is probably
Same.
MLS
Yeah.
preseason.
Right.
So
Yeah.
not fair to just
Yeah, but I want us to go out all the way, man. The more we can play competitive games, the better. Because who's the very first game that we play against when we come back to the league status?
The GOAT,
Miami,
FC.
right? And we're away at Miami, so I don't know, man.
And then LAFC at home after that too.
Yeah, sure. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Tough stretch.
And then Nashville. So I mean, there's some solid games coming up, right? So I mean, personally, just take it all away, fellas. We can do it.
Yeah, I think it'll be very beneficial if we can continue to play more matches going into that Miami game, like you said, right? Like even if we don't win the whole thing, which I think is highly unlikely, right? Like some teams are already out. Like Schmetzer said that they're looking for rivals for Seattle Sounders now in this 20-day window now that they have, right? So I think it also gives the team an opportunity to continue to pick up this positive momentum and this positive form and head into that league, right? Because in my opinion, Charlotte still has to make playoffs. I do not care. One of the things I do respect about the front office and everybody there, right, is that they don't mention, right, what happened to Anton Walks or what happened with Nuno and Andre as an excuse, right? Like, that's very, like, commendable. I'll give them that, right? Because it's very easy to point at these things and say, hey, this is a big reason why we are where we are, right? But they don't do that. So a lot of respect to them for not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it would be easy to do, right?
Yeah, it would, because it has really impacted. It's impacted players. It's impacted people.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Right? So I think that's very important. Having said that, though, it's still MLS. It's still 9 out of 15 teams can qualify, right? It's still like we're still in it and around it, even though we've winless in the league for 8 games, because everybody around us is mid too. They're worse than mid, right?
And honestly, after the Montreal game, we needed a break, and just to, get some things ready and get some people back. But they needed this type of break and still compete, as Lee said, in a tournament. I want the team just to play to win every single game that they're in. So it doesn't matter if the U.S. Open Cup, MLS. Of course, you want to be in the playoffs. You still have a chance, but this MLS break with Leagues Cup, I think it was much needed for them from a mental and soccer
Different pressure, right?
Yeah, it was relieving to see the team being in first place of the group. So for the locker room, this type of mental wins and little breaks in the season that you find out that you can grab points and win and compete again. I hope they just start building up from this run that we're making in Leagues Cup and continue with your MLS season.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the format needs to be tweaked a little bit, but personally, I think it could be a good thing.
Great. This is a question that someone posed earlier that I think I wanted to answer. How do we feel about Privet, his card to roll into the senior team?
I think he's done all right. I mean, I can't really say he's done anything wrong. Obviously, there's more senior players in the team that's going to come back and take that spot right back from him, right? Maybe DJ or Carujo whenever he's healthy again. But overall, I've got no complaints. I think he's been solid. He's been solid.
He fits the Derrick Jones type of role that Latancio likes when he pushes into the midfield and we turn into a 3 at the back, and he helps building the play, and this frees Bronico, Ashley, and Arfield. But I think I said this many times this year, without Crown Legacy, I don't know where we will be at this point, because Ayeman's contribution, Brandon's contribution, now Privet. So it's encouraging to have your players, your guys to develop and see them that they can compete at this level. So I'm very pleased with Andrew Privet, but again, we gotta just take it just one step at a time, and Of course, if DJ is ready to go, he should be the starter instead of Privet, but he is taking all of the opportunities that he has been given.
Perfect. All right. Any final thoughts you guys have in terms of this Cruz Azul match?
Not the match in particular. I just wanted to kind of touch on John's question there about Carroll and Capetti. Just that personally, I think Capetti is the one that's playing catch up. I think if a DP gets to go, it's going to be him.
Yeah, I think I think what we've seen this season particularly is a lot of role players stepping up, right? And so that's one positive that I see a lot. Whether it's Privet, whether it's Brandon Cambridge coming in, whether it's Ajiman, whether it's Ben Bender, right? One of the things that is a positive is having these players that aren't going to be starters right now, but that can come in and make an impact, right? So to me, it goes back to the players that are supposed to make the biggest difference, right? If the DPs and the U22s were making the impact that they needed to, this would be a great added bonus to solidify us being between 4th and 7th, right?
And with Ajaman playing like this and Enzo injured and underperforming, it puts pressure on Copetti, of course. Yeah, no doubt.
No, I think Ajaman, I think the world of him as a player. I think he could easily win the starting striker position in the next couple of years. I think he could be.
I don't see why not.
That good in 2025. I think we could see a situation where Swiderski and Capetti have both been moved on, and Ajaman is the guy in Charlotte. I could totally see that playing out. There's things that he can do physique wise and speed wise and touch wise that you can't coach that. He's just built that way. And if he's there mentally and just confident, there's things that he's going to be very hard to defend in MLS.
Yeah, but that's been the vision from day one, right? It's like to get these youth players coming up to the senior team and then making stars out of them and selling them on for a profit.
Yep.
But still, we gotta be patient with those guys too.
100%.
21, 22 years old. So let them develop, it's great to see them competing at this level like this.
Yeah, it is, and that's why I'm saying I take them with a bit of a grain of salt, right? In terms of this is great that they're coming in and adding to the team, but I'm not expecting them to be our out and out starters, right? So I mentioned it on the show previously, our DP, there should be a clear difference between our DPs and some of these role players coming in, and sometimes it doesn't feel like that. It feels like the quality there's not a major drop.
We say they're young, they're 21, 22, whatever. That's getting kind of old in soccer years, right? Should be
maybe in Premier, but MLS, I feel like you're still all right.
Not fair.
So
and and when it comes to Capetti and Swiderski for sure, there should be a distance between the two, and I think Swiderski there is. Jóźwiak, for me, I still don't really think. I think that kind of ended up being a contractual just issue. I don't think Jóźwiak was intended, or I don't think he really is a out and out DP in this league, at least at this stage. So I think that's also just part of that problem too. They kind of went with that, get a bunch of different players in that could compete with each other. And this is kind of what you end up getting is some young players that can compete with the guys that you have signed to bigger contracts.
For sure. All right. With that said, let's go into some score predictions. I'm going to leave Tonio last because he's a Cruz Azul fan and a Charlotte FC fan. So
we're about to finish up the show.
Yeah, we're about to finish the show, right? So I'm going to start on my left. Lee.
I had to see, man. It's all ass backwards on this side, right?
Yeah. It's actually on my right on me, but I just said left to kind of give you
it would be your left. Well, it would be your right if you're looking at it. But I think if you were either way, you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Realistically, or you just want me to
whatever you think, darling. This is your show.
Yeah, it is my show, actually. Welcome to the MLS Corner, hosted. I'm gonna go 2-2, and then we go to penalties, like Yeti Clan said.
Nice. And who wins the pens?
Marks.
So Charlotte.
Man, Charlotte. Come on, Charlotte. Charlotte, please don't Charlotte. Well, you can Charlotte if you beat Azul.
Nice. Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be goals in this game. Like Tonio said, Cruz Azul's defense has been a bit of a liability, and I think Charlotte last road game against Dallas, their defense was also a liability. Like Dallas had plenty, like Jesus Ferreira, I don't know like what he was doing on some of those chances he had. So I think there could easily be a lot of goals in this game. I'm thinking 3-3. Let's send it to shootouts.
Ooh.
3-3.
Yeah.
I can see that.
That's a lot of goals we'll be scoring though all of a sudden, man.
Yeah, I mean they've got 6 in the last, and like I still think Charlotte's defense is a liability too, and I'm hoping for just like a lot of goals. I think that'd be fun. If you're not going to have a home game, you might as well just have like a big scoring game, right?
As long as everybody's having fun.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, and then I'm going to say, because Cruz Azul is a team that's known for choking too.
I was going that direction.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go.
I mean, not we. I'm sorry. They just choked on finals, so it's not a final.
Well, they choked against Inter Miami too. Last minute,
Yeah.
it's 1-1. All right.
That was the biggest Cruz Azuleada ever because it was the most viewed Cruz Azuleada in our.
For sure, that's
Yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, I think they'll be up 1-0 till minute 90. And then on goal Cruz Azul, 1-1. We take it to penalties and Charlotte go through.
Oh my God.
Tonio?
I mean, I
Here we
think
go.
I've went through a lot of things with Cruz Azul. I've lost my nerves with Cruz Azul when we lost these 9 finals. Probably I lost my hair too watching Cruz Azul. So it's a club dear in my heart, and Charlotte FC is a magic place for me, and this huge opportunity that I have calling games in Spanish for the club. I really hope Charlotte wins Thursday, but if you ask me, I think Cruz Azul wins. I don't want to, but I think Cruz Azul wins.
Yeah, right.
Childhood dream coming true.
You have to say I don't want to make sure everybody.
Hey, I told you in the press conference what was my
That's true.
my thoughts on this, but
Fair. That was a little off the record.
I really want Charlotte to win. I think we have a good chance. We break down Cruz Azul all this hour, but I think they, with Tuca Ferretti's experience, this type of particular tournaments, knockout stage, I think Tuca has a little bit of an edge here. So probably Cruz Azul wins. That's my.
All right. So hopefully you just cursed Cruz Azul. So thanks for
Hey,
that.
we know how they, in the last minutes how they handled themselves. So maybe another Cruz Azuleada in the horizon. I don't know.
Nice.
A win-win for it, man. It's a win-win.
Win is a win, right? Lima, man, where can people find you at?
At CLTFC Fan TV on all the socials. We dropped our fan reactions from the game on Saturday. We'll be doing that live tomorrow on Wednesday at 9 on our YouTube channel. We're like, we need 2 more subscribers to level up to the next level. So if you haven't subscribed,
Yeah.
go out there and hit that.
Go out there and subscribe. Help them level up.
Yeah.
Nice. Brian?
Yeah, y'all can find me on Twitter at BamMauerMedia. You can also find all my written content at topbin90.com. And then also, Premier League is 10 days away, and that means
Come on, you Spurs.
We got our Subscribers Cup coming back, FPL Subscribers Cup. So if you want to play see Premier League with us, subscribe to the website. We'll send you the link, and you can join us in our second annual Top Bin 90 Subscribers Cup.
Second annual, and we got a cool prize for you on this one. Right, so I won't reveal it just yet, right? And all right, Tonio, where can we find you at, my man?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Ramos019, and of course, it's 106.1 FM in the Charlotte area. if you want to listen to our game in Spanish, we're going to be live 30 minutes for a pregame show. So hope you guys join us if you want to learn a little bit of Espanol.
For real. Get your Spanish up, right?
Yeah.
Get your finish up too.
Exactly.
That's right.
Right.
Finish.
Right, you know?
That's a good way to finish it.
It is a good way to finish it because none of us ever walk alone.
Yeah. Am I on your left, right?
No, you're on my right, but we'll just say left.
Okay. Yeah.
I got your back, dog. With that said, you guys have a great night. Jorge at Top Bin 90 everywhere on all our socials. We got some things cooking, right? Hopefully, we'll make an announcement soon too. Dun dun dun.